Good day everyone. Today, we will be talking about the Battle of Manila Bay, an important event in history that changed the course of the Philippines. This event marked the end of over 300 years of Spanish rule in the Philippines and set the stage for American occupation in the Philippines. Before we dive into the details of the battle, let's take a moment to understand the differences between Manila Bay back then and today. In 1898, Manila Bay was a key location, both militarily and economically. It was known for its deep waters, which made it an ideal spot for the naval battles and shipping routes. The bay was less crowded, with fewer ships and less infrastructure. The surrounding areas were much less developed than they are today, with limited industries and only the beginnings of the Manila we know now. Today, however, Manila Bay has changed a lot. It's no longer just a strategic naval area. It's a vital part of the Philippines' economy and environment. The bay is now surrounded by major urban developments, including ports, businesses, and communities. Unfortunately, it faces significant environmental challenges, including pollution and reclamation projects that are reshaping its shoreline. But despite these issues, Manila Bay remains an important symbol of the Philippines' history and its path toward modernization. As we go through this presentation, I hope you'll gain a better understanding of how the Battle of Manila Bay shaped not just our history, but also the transformation of the bay itself and the surrounding areas over time.
Battle of Manila Bay. The Battle of Manila Bay, fought on May 1, 1898, was a key naval engagement during the Spanish-American War that marked a pivotal moment in U.S. history. The battle occurred in Manila Bay, Philippines, between the American Asiatic Squadron, led by Commodore George Dewey, and the Spanish Pacific Squadron, commanded by Admiral Patracio Montojo.
The commander of the American Asiatic Squadron, Commander George Dewey, was born on December 26, 1837, in Montpelier, Vermont, USA. He was the son of Julius Siemens Dewey, a physician, and Mary Perrin Dewey. His father's role as a respected physician in their community may have influenced George's disciplined and service-oriented upbringing.
The admiral of the Spanish Pacific Squadron, Admiral Patricio Montoyo Pasaron, was born on September 7, 1839, in Ferrol, Spain. His father, Felipe Montoyo, was a naval officer which likely had a strong influence on his decision to join the Navy. Growing up in a family with a naval tradition, Montoyo pursued a career in Spanish Navy, attending a naval academies from a young age. His commitment to military service was evident throughout his life, although his command during the Manila Bay ended in defeat for Spain, marking a significant moment in his career.
At the outbreak of the war, United States feared Spanish naval attacks on the west coast. With a Lemmet fleet device squadron led by flagship USS Olympia, sailed toward Manila Bay while the Spanish fleet, hindered by the outdated ships and poorly trained sailors, awaited them.
Admiral Montoyo, anticipating an attack, positioned his fleet in a shallow anchorage, but placed it outside the protection of Spanish coastal artillery, trying to avoid further damage to Manila and to allow survivors to reach safety. Only the port belonging to San Antonio Abad has gun enough range to reach the American fleet, but Dewey never came within their range during the battle.
April 30, 1898, Montojo received word that Dewey's fleet had been spotted in Subic Bay. Expecting the American attack the next morning, however, thanks to information provided by the American consul in Manila. Dewey launched a surprise midnight attack. His fleet avoided Spanish traps and mines by taking a southern route between E.G. Friel and Caballo Island.
The battle began with Dewey's famous command, "You may fire when you are ready, Gridley." The superior firepower and tactics of the US Navy quickly destroyed the Spanish fleet. The Americans suffered only one fatality due to a heart attack and a few minor injuries, while the Spanish suffered 77 dead and 271 wounded, with most of the fleet either destroyed or surrendered.
Victorious flagship Olympia, Dewey had just won the sensational victory of Manila Bay, overwhelming the Spanish fleet without the loss of a single man. There he is on the right, pacing up and down the deck. For his heroic work, Dewey was quickly raised from Commodore to Admiral and given a welcome home that was heard round the world. Admiral George Dewey will live in American history as one of the most spectacular heroes of the Spanish-American.
For many Filipinos, the victory of Manila Bay seems like a sign that their struggle for independence was finally nearing its end. After years of fighting against Spanish oppression, it appeared that the Philippines might soon be free from foreign control. Filipino revolutionary had already been working hard to overthrow Spanish rule, and the destruction of Spain, naval powers seemed to promise a new beginning. A key figure in the conflict was the first president of the Philippines, Emilio Aguinaldo, and the leader of the Philippines Revolutionary Forces who collaborate with the US forces against the Spanish. Aguinaldo and his forces contribute to weakening Spanish control, further securing the American victory.
After the defeat of the Spanish fleet at the Battle of Manila Bay, Emilio Aguinaldo initially believed that the Americans were allies in the Filipino struggle for independence from Spain. The US had positioned itself as a supporter of the Filipino liberation, and Aguinaldo cooperated with the American forces, expecting the Philippines would gain full independence. This victory allowed Aguinaldo to return to the Philippines and reignite the struggle for independence, initially believing the Americans were allies in the fight against Spanish rule. However, this cooperation was part of a larger strategy by the Americans. Behind the scenes, the US had no intention of allowing Filipino self-rule. The Treaty of Paris in December 1898, signed between Spain and the US, transferred control of the Philippines to America for 40 million Philippine pesos without consulting the Filipinos. In many what saw as a deceitful act, the US occupied Manila and did not recognize the Philippine Declaration of Independence, which has been proclaimed by Aguinaldo on June 12, 1898. When Filipinos realized they had been deceived and the US intended to colonize the country, feelings of betrayal, anger, and resistance swept through the population. This led to the Philippine-American War, 1899 and 1902, a brutal conflict that resulted in the loss of many Filipino lives and deepened the sense of mistrust toward the US. The realization that their struggle for independence had been undermined by their supposed ally caused widespread resentment.
The Battle of Manila Bay shows the complicated nature of imperialism. While the Spanish were defeated, the Philippines ended up under the control of another colonial power. The United States, while claiming to be a liberator, was actually expanding its influence in the Pacific. This battle marked the rise of the U.S. as a global power and the beginning of a new phase in the Filipino fight for freedom. The Battle of Manila Bay shows the importance of perseverance, unity, and careful leadership in the fight for freedom or during war. Defeating one power doesn't always mean true independence, but the Filipino people's strength and determination stayed firm, even with new challenges.